and tells us that he found a dirty mattress, a pair of men's-sized jeans, chicken feathers everywhere, and a whole Walmart rotisserie chicken partially eaten in the closet, in the wall. I have been really into listening to like creepy stories and like horror stories. I don't know why. They're just really entertaining to me, and it makes me like think twice about things. And I don't know, it's just, I recently heard a story time about this couple who moved into a house and their landlord was living in their walls. And it really made me think, like, how much does this happen? Like, I have never thought, like, oh my god, what if there's someone living in my walls? Like, so I was actually really curious on like how many times this has happened, and I looked up a few stories on Reddit, and there's actually quite a few stories. So today I am going to read some Reddit stories of people's experiences with someone living in their wall. And it's actually insane, like how many stories people have posted about this. So this is the first one, and it's called How I Found Out Someone Was Living in My House. I'll have the stories below so you can check them out too. About a year ago, for the month of June, my family went to France for 4 weeks and left me to tend to the house and take care of the animals. My house is in an interesting location. It is an hour from the campus I go to school on and a 30-minute drive from my work and 20 minutes from the main town. My neighbors and I have a few acres in between each other, and the closest house to me is a 10-minute drive. My house is surrounded by farmers' fields, military property, and miles of BLM land, and surrounded by mountains. I don't know what BLM land is. Sometimes I feel like I live in the house from Courage the Cowardly Dog because of how in the middle of nowhere it is, and how lots of weird stuff happens in it. If you were to Google what a 2-story house looks like, this would be exactly what my house looks like, except it's a 1-story. The second story, where all the windows are, is just ceiling space. Oh, okay. There are also lofts in my house where my landlord was going to put the second story but never got around to it. It was like they tried to build a 2-story house but realized there was nowhere to put the stairwell. There is also a large basement and an attic. I have lived in this house for 8 years and have always felt like the house had a weird layout. Next to my room there is a huge wall that connects to the living room wall, but my room isn't as big as the wall, so there is just a large wall in between the living room and my room. Underneath my room is the stairs to the unfinished basement. Okay, I can kind of imagine it, but it's a little confusing. Now that you understand the layout of my house, you'd understand why there would be a lot of bird nests on the roof. The birds congregate on top of the room during the summer because that's when the most bugs are out for them to catch, and because we feed our cat just below. My room acts like a funnel for the noise of them scratching on the roof and running around. About 2 weeks after my family left for France, the birds started their scratching noises on top of my roof. They do it every hour or so all day and all night. It's a very unsettling sound to hear at 3 in the morning, and annoying. Then I started to hear scratching and banging sounds coming from the wall next to me, which is why I thought we had rats in our walls. My mom assured me over Skype that was probably just the birds on the roof, like normal. But the next few days I keep hearing the scratching noises and the banging sounds coming from my wall. Finally, I decided that it was time to check the closets and the basement for signs of mice or rats so I could buy the proper traps. After checking the basement, I don't find any signs of mice, so I go check the hall closet, which is the only thing in between my living room and my room. It's usually locked because it's full of a bunch of yard tools and my stepdad's shotgun, my archery equipment, and a handgun. It's locked because my youngest brother could seriously injure himself. Makes sense. I assume it's locked, but I still check the handle and it opens. I thought maybe my stepdad unlocked it before they left just in case I needed a gun to protect myself. The first thing I noticed when I opened the closet is that all of the tools are moved to the far side and a portion of the closet wall is missing. At this point, I'm freaking the frack out and call my best friend and her dad to come over and check it out. I thought about calling the police, but since I live far from a lot of things, I figured me discovering a hole in the wall of my closet probably wasn't enough to send them out. My best friend's dad and my brother came over and used flashlights to look into the hole. They don't see anything super weird, so my friend's dad gets on his hands and knees and gets into the hole. When he gets out, he has a look of horror on his face. and tells us that he found a dirty mattress, a pair of men's-sized jeans, chicken feathers everywhere, and a whole Walmart rotisserie chicken partially eaten in the closet. In the wall. He calls the police and they search the whole house and find no one, nothing out of the ordinary. My friend's dad nails a slab of wood over the hole and I have all the locks changed. The creepy compartment in my closet has since been sealed up. The scary thing is that because I work during the day and leave the house unlocked most of the time, the guy, why would you leave your house unlocked? Why would you leave your house unlocked? Sorry I'm leaning so far forward. Since I leave the house unlocked most of the time, the guy who lived in there could have come and gone as he pleased until night when I was home. I have 8 dogs, which is the reason my family needed me to stay home, and I never heard any of them bark during the time the banging started, which means the man probably lived in my house a long time and my dogs got used to him. And then there's an edit here. It's not really that scary that the dogs didn't bark because they are kept in one of the back rooms of my house, which is far away from the closet. Also, the dogs are outside all day, every day, and are only brought in at night or if it's too cold for them to stay out. Okay, first of all, why would you leave your house unlocked? Don't leave your house unlocked because someone could move in without you knowing and be living in your walls. Alright, and then there's another one titled, Someone Was Living in My Wall, ... Nothing appeared to be out of the ordinary once I arrived back at my room. My dorm room was at the end of a hallway, making it the most isolated. I fumbled the key into the door lock and pushed the heavy door open. My room wasn't exactly clean since neither me or my roommate were concerned about organization back then. My roommate was lying on his bed facing the window. It looked like he was watching something on Netflix while wearing those cheap Apple earbuds. For unknown reasons, I decided to drop my backpack and clean up the dirty clothes scattered across the shag rug we bought for the room. The room smelled like a rotting body, so I opened the windows all the way. I kept a laundry hamper on the right side of my closet so I could easily toss clothes into it. My aim was off that day, so I had to pick up some shirts and boxers that missed the basket. That's when I noticed that something was off. My lockbox, which was typically hidden on the top shelf, was unlocked and on the lower shelf. The key was jammed inside the lock, and this immediately confused me because that key hadn't left my keychain since I put it on. Alarmed, I picked up the small metal box and dropped it on my bed, opening the box to reveal its contents. Without a thorough look, nothing seemed to be missing. The knives were still there, along with my wallet, a carton of cigarettes, and a mason jar holding my marijuana. I removed the rubber band off the wad of cash and counted it out. Surprisingly, none of the $500 was stolen. However, still concerned and believing that I wouldn't leave this lockbox open, I decided to look through the contents just in case. Surprise, surprise, someone jacked about 1/8 of my marijuana and most of my cigarettes. I immediately turned to my roommate and threw out some accusations, telling him to buy his own damn weed and not steal mine. I do fully regret doing this and not asking him politely like I should have, but anger overpowered me. I value everything that I own, mainly because I buy my own necessities with my own money. I was raised to appreciate what I own and to appreciate my property. Eventually, I calmed down and apologized to him for losing my temper so quickly. I offered him a beer, which he declined. I was in the mood for one myself after getting worked up and having an adrenaline rush. I opened my fridge and reached for a beer. And my fridge was empty. I yelled, "The fuck?" In the astonished state that I was in, I glared at my roommate again, but it was impossible that this guy could have taken the contents of my fridge, yet alone want to take my other stuff. I started to go through all my boxes and drawers like a madman to see what else was missing. Aside from some opened and empty food packages like chips and pretzels, nothing was out of place. So as of this point, I knew that someone had taken my drugs, cigarettes, drinks, and some of my food too. I ran my hands through my hair while I contemplated speaking with the resident assistant about the issue at hand. After some thought, I decided to wait. I wanted to see what was really going on, or at the very least, if my roommate was stealing my stuff. Being a sophomore gave me the confidence to think I could outsmart most idiots out there, and clearly I was wrong. I decided to leave my computer on that day and let the webcam recording the area around my bed and micro fridge. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a mini fridge with a microwave built into it. I left for class at 10:30 and wouldn't be back until at least 2 or 3 in the afternoon, giving the culprit plenty of time to get caught. I obviously didn't mention anything to my roommate since he was still suspect to my eyes. The day went by so slowly while I was sitting in class during those handful of hours. Having back-to-back history classes was pretty dreadful even for a history major. My room was the first place I headed to once class was over. I could already feel my adrenaline start to flow through my veins as I was overcome with the excitement of catching the culprit. I threw my door open, not only to be disappointed but dumbfounded. I thought I was the smart and clever one. However, it was clear that this person was one step ahead of me. They literally wrote "one step ahead of you" in sloppy script on a post-it note that was stuck to my computer screen. A folded piece of paper was also taped onto the screen to cover the webcam, clearly to block its view of the room. I immediately stopped the recording and played through the footage. While I was fast-forwarding through the recording, I noticed that after the half-hour mark, the entire recording went black. That was obviously when they covered the video camera. But they didn't stop the recording, and I could hear someone rustle through bags of food and open a fridge. And sure enough, my bottled waters were missing along with some open food bags that were left under my bed. This pissed me off beyond belief, and I was ready for war with this thief. The same night, I ordered 2 hidden cameras off Amazon. They were disguised as those generic white USB wall chargers you get with an iPhone. I already had 2 of them plugged into the outlets in my room, so I knew that the culprit wouldn't notice anything strange. I made sure to next day ship them so I could catch this criminal. The time had come. I had already set up both hidden cameras in my room. One was facing my roommate's desk and bed, and the other one was plugged into an outlet or the microfridge. I knew if the thief came back, I would see their face clear as day. I had my consecutive history classes that day, so I knew there was lots of time for them to break in. Sure enough, 2 rolled around and my final class dismissed. It was time to finally catch this dude. I practically ran back to my room and got to my door, and the first thing that was unusual was my front door was unlocked. My roommate and myself followed a strict code to always lock the door whenever we left the room. He was still in class, so clearly someone else unlocked the door. My room was visibly messier than I had left it. The fridge was left open, trash left on the floor, although the 2 full trash cans I left in the corner of the room this morning were gone for some reason, and some miscellaneous items were pulled out of the closet. Assuming the culprit was just recently in the room, I grabbed the camera facing my roommate's side of the room and hooked it up to the laptop. Sure enough, a tall figure walked by the camera. He had messy long hair and appeared to be pretty skinny. I decided to check the second camera since this one didn't have a full view. God, it's even hard to type this out, what I saw. I plugged the USB cord into my laptop and connected it to the camera. I opened the footage and hit play. The first 10 minutes weren't out of the ordinary, me gathering my books and heading out of the room. A few minutes passed and after I left until he entered the room. He didn't open the door. He didn't break it down or have a key to open it. He didn't climb in a window. He crawled out of the closet. He crawled out of the effing closet. I had to stop the video and sit down and rewatch it a few times just to be sure I saw it correctly. Sadly, I was right. This mother effer crawled out of the closet, took all the waters from my fridge and a few bags of chips and stuffed them into a little cardboard box. At some point, he left the room and disposed of the garbage bags. And he came sprinting back into the room. He grabbed his box of my food and water and disappeared into the closet. I almost passed out while watching the footage, probably because I forgot to breathe. I grabbed a flash drive and put the footage on it. I ejected it from my computer, grabbed a pocket knife from my drawer, and left the room. I texted my roommate telling him not to go in the room and that he'd thank me later. The second I was out of my building, I engaged in a full-on sprint until I reached the public safety office on campus. Once inside, I did my best to tell the man at the desk to let me meet with an officer while I gasped for air. I met the officer in an office and asked him to let me use his computer. I threw the flash drive into the tower and played the video for the officer. I'm not exaggerating when I say this guy ran out of the office, grabbed 2 more officers, and ran towards my building while calling the local police department. I opened the door to my room for them and they pulled everything out of the closet. They discovered that a large part of the side of the wooden closet was loose and they removed it. They found a tunnel, literally a tunnel that led somewhere into the thick wall. We could hear the man screaming to leave him alone and threaten to kill us. 2 officers, guns drawn, pulled the man out of the tunnel. He looked to be in his 50s or so. I'm sitting here writing this in the library because my room is currently an active crime scene. They said it should be all clear in a few hours. I know they already arrested the creep and investigated his hiding place, but something doesn't feel right about this whole thing. I don't know if it's just me being paranoid, but I don't feel safe here anymore. This guy could have killed me at any point when I would least expect it. I'd rather sleep on my friend's floor than go back to that room. Luckily, he offered me an empty bed until I found a more permanent solution. I ordered a big knife off Amazon not too long ago. It has a 6-inch blade and it's supposed to be tactical. I'm going to sleep with it every night until I find an off-campus apartment. Whew, that is terrifying. And I could imagine it completely because I lived in a dorm. These stories just like really make you think to like check your stuff twice. If you feel watched or like unsafe in your own house, I don't know, just check everywhere and make sure there's no one living in your walls. I hope you enjoyed this creepy story time of people living in walls. It's just terrifying to me. When I heard that story I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I literally like chills ran down my spine just thinking of that possibility even remotely being like a thing. If you did enjoy it, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe and let me know what you think of this. Like did you know that this was a thing? I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful day. Stay safe and check your walls every once in a while. And lock your doors. Seriously, lock your doors. Bye.